Okay, 2019, welcome to the drive home. Let's see what you got. I guess that was pretty good. All right, in all seriousness, that was pretty good. I was nervous about doing this. This is the first review for 2019 of a movie that actually came out in 2019, and sorry, after the shit show that was 2018 at the movies, you can't blame me for being a little wary, but things are looking a bit up with this one. I must admit I liked this one a lot. This was a good one. So, if you haven't heard of it, which I would say is kind of hard because, this one has had several commercials and trailers, so this one you've heard of. Ex-con Kevin Hart becomes an assistant to Bryan Cranston, who's a quadriplegic, and teaches him to love life, get his groove back, and all of that. All that kind of stuff. So a fairly standard plot, nothing you haven't heard before. Very similar to the Me Before You of 2 years ago, even though it's not a love story. This one, it is actually a remake of a foreign film of the same, not of the same title, but obviously the same story. So yeah, it's surprisingly really good and really underplayed. I think the thing that needs to stand out first off is just the superior level of the acting. The acting in this is top notch. Maybe not Oscar quality, maybe not the best out there, but it is definitely, they got three pretty good actors here. It's funny. Whenever I see a movie about Bryan Cranston, or I hear people talk Bryan Cranston, like the first thing that always comes to mind is, oh man, this guy, he does one movie, one TV show where he's playing a drug dealer and suddenly everybody thinks he's God. Why do we gotta go on and on about this guy? And then I go see his movies, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's why, because he's fucking awesome. And he is. Bryan Cranston is truly just a brilliant actor, and especially so in a film like this, where, my friend Elizabeth kind of pointed out, he can only use, from here up. He's acting with just there. That's tough. Actors are trained to use their bodies to help convey the message, especially if they're any kind of stage actor. And so doing it without any of that to aid you is, man, that is harsh. And he does it really, really well and convincing. I like his character. His character is not overly bitter, but still bitter. He hasn't lost all of his lust for life, but he's not living it as fully as he could. I think he strikes a really good balance. I feel a lot of these films, with this type of theme, the character is usually pretty one note throughout a lot of it. I liked Me Before You. It made my top 10 list that year. But the disabled character was kind of one note. There's not much to say. I think here there's a subtlety and a reality to the character. And I think that's true of all the characters. I think there are the two main characters, they are not, pardon the kind of obvious pun of it, it's not black and white. They're not all good or all bad, or, Kevin Hart's character is not this kind of streetwise punk. He's not the kind of character you'd expect Will Smith to play back in the day. You know what I mean? He's not this, come on, man, we're gonna go learn to dance, to get jiggy with it, and I'm gonna, be your life coach. And all that. Nah, he's a screw up. He's a screw up who makes the wrong choice every time, and he kind of becomes what this guy needs almost by accident or just out of necessity. And I think that makes the story more interesting, because they're not perfect people. They're not perfect characters. You know, and they play both sides of the character very evenly. I gotta give big ups to Kevin Hart. I've never been much of a Kevin Hart fan in terms of his comedy or his movies. You know, I think he has the same problem that a lot of comedians have, in that they kind of start playing one character, and then, you know, the movie plots just get stupider and stupider and stupider. You know, and that's all comedians, really, who are in films. And eventually they all start to say, we're going to take this, and now I want to do drama, and they to varying levels of success. And I think Kevin Hart showed he's got some pretty good acting chops here. You know, he really brings it. He hangs with Bryan Cranston. The two of them have a really nice chemistry together, and it plays very, very well and naturally. Kevin Hart can play the sarcasm. That's a weird pronunciation. The sarcasm of the character without it feeling like it's a scripted line. You know, I don't know how much of it was scripted and how much of it he kind of ad-libbed or whatever. But I like that better than a lot of these ones that, you know, where they're trying to do this ad-lib comedy, but it's clear that it's very scripted and very pat. You know, he really pushed it very well. I don't know if we're allowed to say nice things about Kevin Hart. Aren't we mad at him for something? I don't know. It's impossible to keep track of who we're ostracizing this week for something stupid they said once. You know, is it him? Or, I mean, what are we doing? There's keeping up with who we're mad at these days is a full-time job, and I've already got one of those. So if it turns out we're all mad at him, then boo Kevin Hart, boo. But you know, say what you will, the guy turns in a really great acting job here. Gosh, I love Nicole Kidman. And man, she's one of those actors, I forgot how much I enjoyed her as an actor. Mainly because, and this is, you know, a weird thing to say, but she normally does really fucking weird movies. You know? And a lot of movies that I just don't see because they're just fucking weird. You know? But this movie just kind of reminded me, gosh, I love Nicole Kidman. What a wonderful screen presence she has. And I don't know, just this is just kind of the wonderfulness of this actor, is that she has a very commanding screen presence, not just because of her height, but just her overall presence is very, very unique. But in this movie, she's playing a much more docile character, at least in terms of her scenes with Bryan Cranston, a much softer character. And it's a weird thing to have someone have command of a scene and yet be playing a docile character at the same time, and it works. I will say that I feel her character is the only one that feels kind of trite and kind of cliche. You know, I think the other two characters, the story is cliche, and the characters are cliches, but I think Cranston and Hart and the writing gave you some new things to look at, some new things to play with, and ultimately the characters, while yes, cliches in their origins, become fully three-dimensional characters in the, you know, as the film goes. And I don't feel that that's the same for Nicole Kidman's character. She is not bad. Please do not misunderstand me. She is not a bad actor, and the character serves its purpose, but it does feel, she feels like the love interest in a Marvel movie. Or, hell, the love interest in any superhero movie. You know, that's kind of what she feels like. They're good, they serve the story, they do the job, but they don't do much except react to the major characters. We don't get much of them. You know? So, that's that's kind of how I feel here. I feel like her character was not as well flushed out, and you know, she's kind of the typical. She's the dedicated, long-suffering, you know, loyal assistant to Bryan Cranston, and of course she disapproves of Kevin Hart at first, and she's very tough on him, and he's like, man, come on, you know, loosen up, why you gotta be so mean? But he grows on her, and she grows on him, and you know, you can kind of track her character progression through the story. And I don't know what I would have done differently with her. To really flush her out more, but yeah, you know, this one is hard to talk. You know, it's the first one of these again for 2019. I'm hoping you can hear me over all the rain. It's raining pretty hard right now. And the problem I'm having is I'm not sure what else to really talk about, because there's not a lot of this movie that I had any kind of problem with to bitch about. It's longer than I thought it was going to be. It, you know, started at 9:30. We got out a little bit before midnight, but the funny thing is, it doesn't feel that long. You know, it feels a little long, but like, there are scenes in this movie that in other movies I'd say, okay, that probably should have been cut. But in this movie, they make the film feel lived in. You know, it makes it feel like we're learning more about the characters. We're having time for them to interact. There are a couple scenes with just Bryan Cranston and Nicole Kidman interacting, just talking. And in another film, it'd be like, okay, you know, let's get to the main point here. In this one, it was like, okay, this is a nice way to see another side of Bryan Cranston's character. It gives Nicole Kidman something to do. You know, I guess if I had an issue with it, the conflict towards the end, you know, the all is lost moment, which happens in all romances or buddy films, the eventual falling out, it felt really kind of tacked on. You know, you can understand, so Bryan Cranston goes out on a date with a woman for the first time, kind of at Kevin Hart's, you know, behest, and it doesn't go well. The woman, the wheelchair and everything is just too much for her, and Bryan Cranston gets immediately distraught, and they have the fight. He fires Kevin Hart and all this. I can see the character that we were introduced to in that moment throughout the film being upset right there, but that upset, it couldn't have come to him as that much of a shock. You know, I mean, hell, trust me, I know the pain of being rejected by a woman. Believe you fucking me. But I don't know. It did not seem like at that moment that was the reaction he was going to have. It felt like this was just a moment that they needed to engineer, because you need that all is lost moment. You know, because you need that 3-act structure, and I don't believe it needed that. I think it could have, the film could have ended the way it ended without, you know, without that, honestly. I think it was a bit of a contrivance, you know. But so yeah, so that was kind of an issue. But none of it is anything that ruins the film for me. This is a good movie and a good way to start the year. I can't come up with too much outside of those few things I mentioned. In a way, that's really, really nitpicky. The stuff that I just kind of went over. That's me really reaching for an issue to have with this film. So yeah, I'm not sure quite what else to say. So let's get right to the point then. If there's nothing else to say, why keep saying stuff? So final grade for The Upside. I gotta give it a solid A. I don't know what's keeping me from giving it the A+. It might be something that's just niggling in the back of my mind right now. But standard film, but really top-notch performances all the way across the board. Well-structured, well-directed, just an overall really, really well-put-together film that, you know, was genuinely touching and funny and warm and just kind of it is a feel-good movie, and it makes you feel good. I felt good after watching it. I'm all about that these days. So yeah. Happy to start off the year with a good movie. So, while we start off the year, we must also take the time to look back. And so, you know, I have a long weekend, so this week we're going to be recording and hopefully getting up the top 10 for the year, top and bottom 10. So, I hope you look forward to that. I got a long weekend, so I'm hoping I might be able to catch one more flick. And yeah, it's great to be back. Great to start a new year. Great to start the new year off on a high note. So I hope you will continue to join us. All the folks who do watch these, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to another year with you. If there's any new viewers out there, welcome, and enjoy the drive home. So until next time, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.